In this AlignMix video, you will learn how to use the configure layers. Now the configure layers is where you can customize how everything is displayed on your map. It will also let you choose at what zoom level your icons will appear. So by default, you can see that I do have accounts imported based on the ABCD segmentation in the top right, but in this zoom level, which is a zoom level 3, we don't see any of those accounts. But as I zoom forward, you'll see other things start to appear on the map. Like right now, we've got the territory ID appearing at a zoom level of 4. If I move forward a little bit more cities are appearing. And now you can start to see the little icons representing all of our sales accounts start to appear. As I move forward, now at a zoom level of 7, you'll see little people appear representing our sales reps. And as I go even further in, eventually at a zoom level of 12, that sales rep's name will appear below their sales rep icon. All of these things can be customized in configure layers. So now let's zoom out all the way and go to configure layers. And we'll start in the top left where we have sales reps. So by default, our sales reps will start to appear at a zoom level of 6. That's what this chevron here represents. When that sales rep icon first appears at this zoom level, it will appear at a 24-point font. As you zoom further and further in, it will reach a max size of 144 points at zoom level 14. And then the label will start to appear at zoom level 11, and you can see the minimum and maximum for those labels. By default, you have two different icons that will appear for your sales reps, a male icon and a female icon. And that icon is dictated by the name that is used for the import. If you'd like to ignore gender and have one icon for all of your reps, you would simply click on this ignore button. So now let's move on to cities. By default, we have 100% density, and that's set by default because at 100%, the major cities will not overlap as you zoom in and around on your map. So now let's change this to, let's say, 500. 500, and click on OK. And now you'll see that there is some overlap with the cities, and as you zoom further in, you will see there's a lot of clutter. So I highly recommend leaving it at the default settings of 100 because the map gets very busy if you do anything much higher. So now click OK and we can revert back to where it was. So let's open up configure layers again. And now let's come down to our account section. If you've imported with account segments, you will see all your account segments here. You can even rename your account segments by clicking on the rename button, and you can rename an account segment that way. You can adjust at what level each segment will appear at on your map. By default, these icons for the A accounts will appear at a zoom level of 5 and reach its max size of 32 pixels at zoom level 14. If you wanted those icons to appear when you've zoomed all the way out, you simply move that chevron all the way to the left and it will appear as a small icon. So let's click OK and now zoom all the way out. And you can see little icons scattered about representing our A accounts. But those icons are very small and difficult to see. So going back to configure layers, I'm going to move this right chevron over towards the left side and now click OK. And now you can see the icons have gotten bigger on your screen. And that's how you can adjust the size and appearance of your sales accounts. The same process will work for your sales reps and also your sales territory labels. So let's go back to configure layers. Now moving down the line, we've got our roads, and you can choose at what level the different types of roads appear, and you can also deselect them from view. So if you didn't want any of them to appear, you would simply deselect all of them, click OK, and now when you zoom in, no roadways will appear. Let's go back to configure layers and turn those back on. So we can turn all of them back on by simply checking all these boxes and have them appear. Moving down to static layers. By default, you have static layers turned on for US states, and that's so you can see the state boundaries. It also shows you the color of those boundaries and at what level those boundaries will appear at. And you can customize the color of that boundary by clicking this button here and changing that color. If you've downloaded and installed a US county boundary layer, you can also display county boundaries on the map. But a key point to remember, if you've created a file here in AlignMix using 5-digit zip codes as the base, then you can't create US county-based territories in this map. But using this option here, you can see where those county boundaries exist. So now let's go down to territories. This is where we can customize the appearance. By default, we have got the 3-digit territory ID displayed. We can change that by clicking this drop-down menu, and we can choose territory name, and we can add another label like data, and it can be sales, and we can set a caption like so. And by default, these labels will appear at a zoom level of 3 at a 12-point font, and as you zoom further and further in, they'll reach their max size of 36-point font at a zoom level of 12. And we could also change the colors for individual labels like so. And then when we click OK, you will see now 2 labels appear. We change the territory ID to show the territory name, and we also set a sales label. And now that we've got a data set as a territory label, you can use any of your alignment tools and get instant feedback as you make changes to territory boundaries. That's a really useful feature to turn on when you're adjusting territory boundaries. So now let's go back to Configure Layers and scroll down here. If you've created a hierarchy, by that I mean assign territories to districts and districts to regions, and by default that's what the 3 levels are called, and you can adjust all of that in the AlignMix options. If we click here on districts, we can turn on the district boundaries so they are visible when we are looking at our territory view. And let's make them a pink color and make it super thick so we can see it, and click OK. And now everywhere you see a pink line is where we have our district boundaries. And you can create the same type of customizations for your maps at the district map level and region map level. Let's now open up another map and do a district map. So here we can see all of our districts. By default, that red number is showing you the span of control, and that means that's the number of territories that are assigned to each district. And we can change that by clicking on Configure Layers while in District Map View. And here, we'll go to District Labels, and we can double click here to change it to District Name. Clicking on OK, you will now see that changes for every single district. Let's go back to Configure Layers, and you can do the same thing that we did at the territory level. You can add additional labels by simply clicking the plus button, and it will show sales like so. But another cool thing that you can do while in the district view is you can add the territory boundaries. So if you wanted to see where your territories are while in a district view, you simply turn those boundaries on, customize how it will appear on your map, and click OK. And just like that, the blue lines are showing you where your territories are now overlaid onto your district map. You can even use that same process to show the territory label. So you can click here to make territory labels visible while in this district map view, and that blue ID will show up for every single territory. And you can do the exact same type of customizations while in the region map view. So now let's go back to Configure Layers, scroll down here. We already talked about territories, districts, and regions operate the same way. Going down the line here to zip codes, this shows you at what point your zip code boundaries will start to appear, and the same for the zip code label. By default, the zip code label is the 5-digit zip code, but you can click this drop-down menu and select the name, which would be the city that is located in that zip code. Then let's come down here to world. This is where you can customize the appearance of the world. You can change the color of the sea, the earth color, and even the border colors too. If you've purchased additional international maps that come in high resolution, make sure you've selected the high resolution button here so that those maps appear very clear on your screens. And then finally we come down to our legend. Right now we don't have accounts displayed on our district map. That's why it's set to be not visible. But if we click here on visible, we can make it visible and then click on OK. And now you can see that our account legend has appeared in our district map view. But let's go back to our first tab here where we do have our accounts shown and go back to Configure Layers, and scrolling back down to Legend, you can see that by default it's set to visible because they're shown right now. You can adjust the font, you can adjust the font size, and if you have imported a lot of different account segments, make sure that you have it clicked to auto fit. That will make sure all of your account segments appear here on the right side in your legend. At some point, if you've imported 30, 40, or more account segments, they won't all appear on your map. If you have a lot of different layers displayed on your screen and you have an older computer, you may notice that the software starts to run a little bit slower. And there you have it. You've just learned how to use Configure Layers here in AlignMix.